actually I've seen in my own peer group that there's been people that have grown up in the church, but when they grow up, I feel like they've experienced church hurt, right? I want to know if you've ever experienced that, where you kind of lost your way a little bit. And if you didn't, do you have any advice for the people that can come back and regain their faith?
Yeah. Oh my goodness. Church hurt is it's a real thing. I think hurt in general is a real thing, because anytime you get around people and you get around people that you love, you're going to make yourself vulnerable. And when you're vulnerable around people, people will be people. You're bound to be offended. You're bound to get whatever it may be, disrespected or spoken to in a certain way maybe you didn't like, or something happened you didn't like. I think where church hurt becomes a phenomenon to people is that they don't expect that from church. Because it's like, oh, this is like a holy place and everybody's perfect. But dialing back to everything we've been talking about, everybody's not perfect.
Everything black on black. If I studied that facts on facts.
Welcome back to another episode of the Black is the New Rich podcast. And today we got a very big guest. He is a Grammy Award winner for a famous music group. But I do not want to keep talking. Can you please introduce yourself?
What's going on, everybody? It's your boy Ryan Ofei here. A product of Canada. I'm a worship leader, an artist, husband, a son, a brother, and I'm just excited to dive into all of this with you, man.
Okay, dope. So for the people that don't know, you are part of the Maverick City group. Can you explain what that is?
Maverick City Music is a collective based out of Atlanta, formed honestly maybe a couple years ago, right before the pandemic in about 2019, and lifting up worship, writing gospel, contemporary gospel, Christian songs all throughout the United States with Chandler Moore, Naomi Rain, Brandon Lake, Dante Bowe, Joel, MJ. Jeez. I was a late addition to the group in 2020. Got connected through a friend, through an online writing camp, and Mav, I called him Mav. Mav was like, hey, we need you to come to Atlanta in the midst of the pandemic. I braved through it. Flew down there, wrote some songs with them, and started recording literally the week I got there.
Wow.
And so it's been an incredible journey. I've gone on, obviously, Grammy Awards and big stages, tours, and all these things. But it's been so much in just such a short span of time.
Yeah, it must be surreal now, right?
Absolutely.
Okay.
Yeah, man.
So I'm going to talk about what you're doing now, but I want to get into the backstory of how it started.
Yeah.
To take me back of where this journey started for you.
Yeah, I think this journey is so interesting, and we were talking a bit earlier, and I'm like, I think I'm a globetrotter. Like, I was born in the UK. I moved to Ghana when I was 2 years old. My family is originally from Ghana. I moved there when I was 2 years old, and from about age 5 is really where my memory kicks in. And I just remember asking my mom, I'm like, Mom, I want to sing. And it felt like there was something like burning on the inside of me. Like if I didn't do it.
So you knew?
Yes. And I think that was a gift from God. Like I just felt like I would explode if I didn't do it. And so she was like, okay, whatever, you're allowed to sing. Like, let me hear you. Yeah. And she's like, whoa, she was shocked. So she started calling all our neighbors to come by. And we moved to the States the next year. And she would always just kind of champion me, push me, let me sing at the churches we were at. Wow. And yeah, essentially we ended up moving from the States to Canada, lived in Hamilton, lived in Milton a bit, and went to church in North York. And my mom, my dad, they always made sure like I got piano lessons. They were always trying to invest into me and really believing in me. And I was playing sports and I had a lot of choices to make, but at the end of the day I said this is where I feel called to. That
you felt that was your purpose.
Yeah.
So what was the decision leading to gospel music?
Yeah. For me, I think the biggest thing about music is that it makes you feel something. There's an emotion that comes from listening to any type of music. And for me, anytime I would listen to faith-filled music, worship, gospel, Christian music, like I would feel like so connected to our creator, to God. I'd feel so connected. And that just like, for me, felt like home. Okay. It felt like the most like just centralizing thing. Like it just brought me back to being who I felt most authentic being. And so when it came time to kind of choose what I was doing, I love all genres of music, but the messaging for me really felt the most true and most authentic when I was doing that. That's when I felt like I could be myself the most. And so, I mean, we went through a whole lot of things in my first year at university. I almost died.
Oh, wow. How? Can you talk about that?
Almost got into a crazy car accident. I was going to my 19th birthday in Montreal on my way back. Crazy storm, 18-wheeler almost took us out. It was me and 4 of my guys they all walked in my wedding. They're like, we're still like best friends.
Everyone's alive.
We're all alive.
Wow.
thank God.
Wow.
But it's like, I think that moment really just like coming face to face with death just kind of, it brings a different level of realization. Just like, hey, what would my life be like if today was the last day? What kind of legacy would I have left? How would people talk about me? What impact would I have made on people? And so that really just pushed me even further to be like, I'm going to do the thing that feels the most natural to me.
So you were thinking like this at 19.
Yeah.
So, because I was going to ask you, like, in our generation, we grew up with like G-Unit, Dipset, and all those types of influences at that time.
Absolutely.
So did you feel the pressures of doing gospel? Because we had so many different influences at that time.
Man, that's so interesting. I think I definitely grew up with all that as well. Definitely loved it as well. But I think maybe because I was always a singer. I don't know. So like I love that, but I also loved like R&B. I also loved like the stuff my mom would be listening to.
Did you know that the Black Dollar leaves the community within 6 minutes? That's why we are excited to introduce the new Black is the New Rich app, designed for the Black community to be more intentional about where we spend our dollar. The directory consists of mostly financial services like real estate agents, financial advisors, tax consultants, mortgage agents, videographers, photographers, and many more. With our app, you can easily find and connect with quality services that are owned by Black entrepreneurs. And to ensure the integrity of the service on our app, all directory members are held accountable if they receive multiple bad reviews. Our mission is to circulate the dollar and provide quality services to our community. Download the Black is the New Rich app today and start investing in your
the stuff that my parents would be playing. So that from African worship to like straight up gospel to to R&B stuff, like that was also something I really loved. So it wasn't like that difficult of a decision for me. I can't really rap anyways. So it wasn't that difficult of a decision for me.
Because I just feel like growing up, there's so many pressures to be cool.
Absolutely.
Right? And I don't remember like growing up, like if someone said they wanted to do gospel, someone might look at them like, are you sure, bro? Why not R&B?
That's kind of whack.
Yeah, that's kind of whack. So
absolutely.
Did that affect your confidence in any type of way?
Yeah, I think, you know what? I think from an early age, I've just kind of come to this realization of like life is not all about today. Like a lot 100%. Of it is about tomorrow and about the future, and just being very future conscious. I think that like if we made decisions based on how people felt about us today and tried to please every single person, you'd kind of fall into a space where you might have regrets. And so for me, it's like I've always been like, hey, in 5 years, in 10 years, does this decision that I made hold up? And am I being true to myself? Because at the end of the day, authenticity will always be rewarded, whatever that is, if you're being authentic to yourself. So I was like, I'm sticking with that. And it's cool now. It's cool now. It's really interesting. It feels like faith and culture, they've really like blended together, and it's really acceptable, probably even more than it was when we were like growing up in high school.
I'm going to talk about that too. I'm going to talk about that. So you mentioned the Mav City happened in 2020. Yeah. Right? So before that, how was your outlook towards music? Did you ever think about giving up?
Oh, absolutely.
Talk about that.
Absolutely. I think I got to the point in making music where I was like, God, if you want this for me, like then let it be. Because I was just like, I wasn't seeing the progress that I'd hoped for. I was being honest. I was like, I'm going to release one song and it's going to blow up and I'm going to travel the world. And it's like, it doesn't work like that. It's a continuous journey where you got to like fall down, get up, try again. And it's not always linear. And so for me, pre-Mav, I was like, I think I'd gotten to a spot where I was like, man, I just want to do this in the capacity that like it blesses my church and whoever's close to me. And if that's all I'm supposed to do, and that's all that opens up to me, I'll at least give my 100% to that. And that's where my heart was. And I mean, thank God I got more than that out of it. And was able to do so much more. Okay.
So now you're on a platform, right? And I believe like with social media, it could be a little bit tricky because especially being a gospel singer, and correct me if I'm wrong, I feel like people may hold you to higher regards as a human being.
Absolutely.
And do you feel pressure from that to how you live your life?
Yeah, I think that's a crazy one, because people can put you on a pedestal, but at the same time, to whom much is given, much is expected. And so, I mean, I do the very best I can to live according to the Bible and to be accountable to my wife and to people, friends, family, leaders in my life. But we're all human beings. Sometimes people make mistakes. It's about being willing to be honest, being willing to be corrected, and
take accountability.
And being willing to get better at whatever it is. I think like if you can never admit like, hey, I struggle with this, there's no way that you could ever get the help that you need to get better. So it's better to just be honest. I think that's the thing I've really learned in this walk. It's just better to be honest, straight up with everybody that you deal with.
Because we all have shortcomings.
Absolutely.
No matter what. No matter what religion and how high you are.
Absolutely. And I think the worst thing that you could do as a person of faith is like try and cover it up so that people would be like, oh yeah, you're great. But it's like, God knows like you have these shortcomings. You know what I mean? And it's like, the Bible says like whatever's done in the darkness will come to light. I feel like if it's 3 years, 4 years, 10 years,
it's going to come out.
It's still going to come out. It's still going to, in some way, shape or form. Some people are blessed enough that it's not in a public space, and some people it's been a bit more private. But whatever it is, like we're all in need of grace. We're all in need of the Lord's love and his grace on our life. And so, I mean, it is a difficult thing, and we try each and every single day.
Yeah.
That's the best we can do. We could try and lean on him.
Okay, dope. So one thing I noticed about Mav City, and there's something that's very unique. So for example, a crowd of, let's say, that goes to the club, right? On a Saturday night, like the Club 44 in downtown Toronto.
Got you.
They may be popping bottles, doing whatever, but that same crowd will go to a Mav City concert. And I love to see that because I feel like it's changing the culture, and it wasn't like that when we were growing up. When it came to the gospel music, what do you have to say about that?
Man, that's an interesting take. I mean, I don't know. I wasn't at the club. I didn't know. I didn't know that's what was happening. But I think that's an interesting take. I think that the music is reaching people, and it means something to them. Like they're not just hearing words of a God that feels so far, but it's like it's about a message that can relate to people, and how our faith helps us through life. Like even through the pandemic and through 2020 with everything that was happening with Black Lives Matter and George Floyd, like Mav, we created an album surrounding that, where we had Jubilee Juneteenth, we had Keep Praying, we had Freedom Looks Good on You, God Will Work It Out. Like we actually spoke to the issues that we were facing and used our faith in that. And I think that that's what
I feel like that's really intentional too.
Yeah, I feel like that's part of what has like really just brought this like awakening. It's like it's not a religion that feels far from you. It's a religion that helps you in the daily walk that you have. And so I think that's why you would see someone go to the club and pull up to a Mav concert. I believe that's a reason. And hopefully they enjoy the worship and even move towards change and getting closer to God.
So for a man of faith growing up, right? I've seen in my own peer group that there's been people that have grown up in the church, but when they grow up, I feel like they've experienced church hurt, right? I want to know if you've ever experienced that, where you kind of lost your way a little bit, and if you didn't, do you have any advice for the people that can come back and regain their faith? Yeah.
Oh my goodness. Church hurt is it's a real thing. I think hurt in general is a real thing, because anytime you get around people and you get around people that you love, you're going to make yourself vulnerable. And when you're vulnerable around people, people will be people. You're bound to be offended. You're bound to get whatever it may be, disrespected or spoken to in a certain way maybe you didn't like, or something happened you didn't like. I think where church hurt becomes a phenomenon to people is that they don't expect that from church. Because it's like, oh, this is like a holy place and everybody's perfect. But dialing back to everything we've been talking about, everybody's not perfect. You know, I've often heard the analogy of church being like a hospital, and it's like, yo, we don't go to the hospital because you're well. Like, you go there because you need to be made well. And so if you go to the hospital and someone gives you COVID, it's almost like, like that's par for the course. You're at a hospital. There's no perfect people there. If everybody there was perfect, they shouldn't even really be there. And so I think that's the perspective that I try and carry. I myself have definitely experienced some sort of hurt in a church setting. And I'm sure many people have, where maybe they were spoken to a certain way, or maybe, you know, especially being young, like, oh, why you have your hair like that, or why you dress like that, or, you know, there's a lot of those type of scenarios where people feel ostracized. But I do believe that there's still like hope, there's still redemption for all of us. Like, find a church that accepts you, a church that preaches the true word of God, a church that will love on you and build you to be even better than you are. Just because you had one bad experience doesn't mean that it should end there. Like, we've had heartbreak. Imagine like you got a bad relationship. You were with someone, they treated you terribly, they spoke to you in a really terrible way. It doesn't mean that love is fake. It doesn't mean that true love doesn't exist. It just means you shouldn't be with that person.
Exactly. And I feel like then church should be held to the same regard, is what you're saying.
Exactly.
Okay.
Exactly.
Dope.
Exactly.
So how do you think gospel music can help in social justice issues? Because I know you just talked about all the albums, but let's go further than the music.
Yeah, well, I think we went to a prison, Everglades Correctional Facility in Miami, and we spent like a week with them.
Wow.
We're writing songs with them, we're worshiping with them. And I think for me, that broke down a lot of like, even just like preconceived thoughts, like, of what people in prison could be like. Like, they know God, like they love God, like, and for us to give to them and for them to even give back to us, I think that's what we're called to do. At the end of the day, we're called to love on the lowest, like people that people would like absolutely write off or be like, nah, that's not worth it. We're called to be the light of the world to them. And so I know that we've done that, many other things like giving to people and just being there for the community. But I'd say that one thing that I've seen is like us going into a prison system and just like not just being there, but like actually
purposeful
like
work.
Like actually talking with them, actually like hearing their stories, and actually like taking that and bringing it to everyone else and letting everyone else see that God works in all places with all types of people, and letting his love be something that's unifying rather than something that pulls us apart.
Okay, dope. Even at the level that you're at now, people are starting to know who you are, the fame's coming. What challenges are you facing now?
Oh my gosh. Man, I think just the challenge of honestly just making good decisions always, and that's something that I was talking.
In what regard?
Just making good decisions. Always making good decisions, because I think that as you say, like popularity comes and all these things, I think you could be presented a lot of things. You could be presented deals, you could be presented partnerships, you could be presented anything, and it's like I have to realize that in as much as so many things may come, it's not everything that may be for me. It may not be everything that aligns with the vision for what I'm doing. And so I think that's maybe the hardest part, is like, it's not that hard to make decisions when you don't have many things coming at you. But it's like when you do have many things coming at you, it's like some things are blessings, some things are temptations, some things are traps, some things are opportunities. And it's like being able to identify those, discern what's what, and make the right decisions. I think that's the biggest challenge that I probably face.
Is it more important now to have your immediate group be tighter than ever?
I think so. And funny enough, I think my immediate group has gotten tighter. Like, I was at the river in Whitby on Tuesday, and it's like 2,000 young people. Every Tuesday they just worship and just go for it. And some of like my closest core friends were like in the front row, and I was like, man, this is it means a lot to me. You know, it means a lot to me to know that these people will always, like, no matter what, they're gonna tell you the truth. Like Junior's always gonna tell me like bro, your pants are not nice, like change that. You know what I mean? Or you're feeling yourself too much. Like, yo, just be humble with it. Whatever, like, and I think it means the world to me to have people around you that, like, yes, they love you, but they'll be real with you. They'll just be honest with you, and that means the world to me.
Amazing. So March 31st, I was doing my research. You just dropped the album.
Yes, sir.
Limitless Worship, Accra. Can you talk about that, please?
Yeah. So I went back to my motherland. My parents live in Ghana. I went back to the place where I felt like singing, and I felt like I'd explode. And just partnered with the ministry out there at EWC and did a recording, an EP of 5 worship songs.
You recorded out there?
I recorded it
amazing.
there. Recorded it live there. Literally put out a feeler like the day before, like, hey, does anybody want to come? And we had a good amount of people show up and we recorded it. So it's like a completely live recording, and it was just a good experience. Like I think it's really dope if anybody's trying to like worship or pray in the morning and you just play it on, like put it on, it'll get you in a good atmosphere and a good mood. And it was crazy. I'm really happy with how it turned out. There's a Ghanaian gospel singer by the name Joe Metal. He's like a GOAT in the country, and I asked him to hop on one of the songs as well with me, and so it was a good experience.
How important is it for you to be still connected back home?
Yeah, I think, wow, that's an interesting question. I think it's really important because like they always say, like, how do you know where you're going if you don't know where you came from, you know? And so I think for me, getting to go back home, getting to be in the culture, submerge in the culture, like talk with people, eat the food, learn your history, it just gives like such a revelation of like
picks
who
up your
you
frequency
are.
too.
Yeah, it just gives like it's just such a grounding thing. Like every time I'm back home, just like it can actually move you to tears because it's like you just realize like,
and this is your people, this is your tribe.
Yeah, you just realize like how much we've been through, how much we've like overcome, and even how much more there is to do. And so I think it's always good to be connected to the place where it all started.
Could you see yourself moving back home?
There's no way. No. Honestly, let me rephrase that in case my parents watch. You know, maybe on and off.
Okay. Wow. Okay.
Maybe on and off. We'll see.
Cool. So I want to talk to you about a little bit about the business of music, right? Cool. And this is kind of for like any artist. So I think personally, music is the hardest thing to break through. One of the hardest. Yeah. You know. So is like being signed. Is it still important to like major labels? Like, how do you feel about that?
That's an interesting one. I think, honestly, in 2023, that you don't have to be signed. I mean, the internet's such a powerful tool, and like things can run up on TikTok. At the end of the day, like the job of a label is to present you in the public eye. And I know that in the times of like radio, that was of huge significance because it's like they literally control, like there's such a gatekeeper over what you hear. But in this day and age, it's like a little kid can blow up in his bedroom on TikTok. You know what I mean? Mav City blew up doing videos on YouTube. Like anything can really, it can blow up if it's good enough, if there's a right amount of support. So I don't think there's a cut and dry answer like, oh, you should not be signed or you should be signed. I think it's about like where you are in your career, what works best for you, what your values are. Some people are like, hey, I don't want to give up. I don't want to give up my master. I don't want to give up XYZ. Yeah. Like, so I'd rather do this. Or some people are like, hey, I really don't mind losing a bit of that. I just want to get as far as possible. So at that point, it becomes like what works for you. True. Yeah, what works best for you, what works with your ideals, your beliefs, and what's the best path. Okay. I think there's many paths that can be taken. Some people can be indie artists. They could probably do even smaller rooms, but they find such fulfillment in that because they know that everybody in that room is like a dedicated core fan. Yes. You know what I mean? Yeah. And so it's like to each their own, even depending on the genre as well. And so it's kind of your decision.
If you were to start today,
what
would be your medium of how you go about your music career?
In terms of like the artist, like signed, not signed.
And how would you build your community too?
Man, honestly, I think everything that I've done up to now is how I like it. You know, like I'm currently not signed as an artist currently, but I'm signed under publishing to Mav City, so I'm a writer for them. Okay. And I mean, I would just kind of do that again, like just very organic. Yeah. Just connecting with people, meeting with people, writing songs, and having the freedom to like put whatever out. And now that might change. That may not always be the same. But I think I would do it all over again. Okay, wow. Yeah.
Is there anything that artists should be aware of when it comes to the business side?
Yeah, I mean, get a good lawyer. There's gonna be so many contracts thrown at you. Get a good lawyer. Let them make the notations. Let them make the adjustments, and just have people that like you could trust around you. I think Yeah, I think in music in general, there is like a huge like fear of getting wrong done, which I can understand because it's happened
so many times.
Yeah, it's happened so many times. So I think the most important thing is read through your contracts, and that's for anything. If you're buying a house, read through your contract. You're getting a job, read through your contract, right? Like just read through your contract, know the ins and outs, and have a professional eye look over it. And on top of that, I'd say trust God. You know, let Him lead you, let Him help you. Put your faith in Him, and you'll be good.
Okay.
Yeah.
So Ryan, when it's all said and done, right? How do you want to be remembered?
Man, that's incredible. That's a great question. I want to be remembered as a man who loved his family, as a man who loved God, as a man who gave his very best every single time to every single person. I want to be remembered as someone who made a change in Christian and gospel music, with his sound, with his approach, with his authenticity, and I think even in the music that I'm about to be releasing in the months and years to come, you'll feel that.
Okay.
Yeah, I want to be remembered. I want to leave an impact and a change in people's lives. Amazing. and I pray that I'm able to do it.
Amazing. You definitely will. I can definitely see it, because when I was watching your YouTube videos, I was like, wow, this guy has a voice. It's great. Like it's that type of voice that just smack. Like you feel it. No, I'm being real, because
hallelujah.
Like, you know, I had to do all my research and stuff like that. I was like, wow, this is crazy.
Thank God, bro.
But listen, I want to ask you two questions that we ask every single guest on the show.
For sure.
Right? And for the first one, you don't have to say any names. Okay. What is the best advice you've received, and what is the worst advice you received?
Okay. Best advice, maybe like my dad or something screaming at me, like, there are no shortcuts in life. That joint is ringing in my head. Like, my dad went savage. Like, there were times he would like come, Junior knows, like my pops would like pull out the PlayStation in summer, be like, why aren't you guys studying? Like, you should be. So my dad was like that. And it's funny because I talked to him about it. I'm like, Pops, like, that's kind of intense. He's like, I didn't do that. I'm like, you most certainly did do that. You know, but he would say like, there's no shortcuts in life. And I feel like that's something that has really stuck with me. Just work hard. Like, whatever you're doing, whatever it is, like, leave a mark on it. Give it your very best. Like, in as much as you pour into something, it will, like, you'll receive a harvest from it. 100%. And so I'd say that's the best advice I've ever received. It sticks with me till this day. Like, that's my work ethic, my heart, my desire. Worst advice I've received, someone told me to stop singing.
Whoa! What the heck? Let's elaborate on that.
Yeah,
what the hell?
Yeah,
you don't have to say any names.
Yeah. No, I won't drop a name. But someone was like, hey, like, I think like the singing thing is like, it's not really for you. Like, what? you should, because I played piano at the time. They're like, I think you should focus more on piano. And I mean, I don't think it's completely terrible.
No, I think that's completely terrible.
No, but the thing is, I was very shy. I mean, to some extent, I could still be shy, but I was very, very shy. So I think, like, from what they saw,
you think they were protecting you?
Maybe, I don't know. They could have been projecting. I don't know what. I don't know. I don't know. I was very young. I was like, this is kind of weird. I definitely want to sing. Like, you're not going to stop me from doing what I want to do.
Yeah.
But it's just like, I don't know where it came from, but it may have just felt like, hey, I'm just trying to like tell you the truth so you don't waste your time type thing. You know what I mean?
Okay.
And I think the thing in that is, even as you receive advice from people, some people only see you for where you are. And it's like, I believe God sees you as your future.
Exactly.
And so it's like, if you hear something and it doesn't resonate with you, then maybe it's not for you, you know? And so that's just that. Sometimes that's just even more motivation to stick to what you know is true. Yeah. And what's right. And at the end of the day, the truth will always be the truth. So.
Okay.
Yeah.
And a last question.
Yeah.
On the show, we like to make predictions. Okay. So I want to say in 5 years, Ryan said he was going to say that. Where do you see yourself in 5 years?
Man. That's such a loaded one. Honestly, just doing bigger, doing better, doing greater. Maybe have a child or two. just living well, and just pushing this as far as it can go.
Doing God's work,
doing the Lord's work. There'll be a project coming out. It's gonna be the album of the year. You heard it here first. You heard it here first. It's gonna be incredible. And I just know that a lot of people are gonna be blessed. A lot of people are gonna be touched, and we're gonna push this thing as far as possible.
Amazing. Well, Ryan, I want to say thank you for your time. I know you're a busy man, so to stop here, like, you know, it really means a lot. And if we can help you in any way, we definitely will.
Yes, sir.
But before you go, can you let the people know where to find you?
Yeah, all streaming platforms, all social media platforms. Ryan Ofei, wherever you listen to music, wherever you engage with content, I will be there waiting for you. So see you there.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
Love, brother.
Thank you.
Everything black on black. If I study that facts on facts.